Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Friday, but it's raining, and this is not what you want to see on a Friday. Well, it is in York anyway. I hope you're all doing well. I hope the week hasn't been too tough to you, and we're back with some football. Listen, we've got 8 games to go before the World Cup break. I do love the World Cup. I have to say it's my favourite competition, so I'm almost looking at that and thinking, I don't mind that. You have this block imprint in your head, don't you, that when football breaks, it's for just drab international campaigns, but the World Cup's got a different feel about it, hasn't it? So I'm excited for that one. But before that, we have 8 games to go with Leeds United. We had 9, but obviously Leeds drew that game with Aston Villa picking up a point in the process. However, 8 games to go, everyone. 8 vital games for United. Before we start the video, if you want to check out some Patreon content, we had an exclusive live stream, which I'll be bringing to the Patreon account multiple times per week. The reason behind that is because I've eventually found out what I'm doing in terms of streaming to Patreon. So if you want some bonus content and it helps the channel, hit the link in the description below, everyone. I do like to say myself that the content that I bring on the Patreon is very, very dedicated, and I put a lot of time into it. So make sure you head over there, check out all that good stuff. We'll have Generation Leeds as well immediately after the Leeds United game, which follows your review on the main channel. So listen, want some bonus content? Check that out. And if there's also some more bonus content here, everyone, someone who I've not mentioned since we've been back because I was a bozo last week and forgot to discuss it on the YouTube channel, but we are back with BETMATE. Yes, BETMATE, the app, the fantasy app, the daily fantasy app that I'm delighted to bring to the channel this week, everyone. Listen, it's not just Leeds United games you can pick from. It is an entire Prem Sunday, an entire Premier League Sunday you can pick your team from. I'd maybe advise going towards Leeds and Crystal Palace, but if you don't want to do that, the code is there, and these are my picks for the fixture. I've gone with Elan Melly in there. I've gone with Gahey and Mitchell as a back 2, and we're going to get into that. Of course, we're going to delve into that. I've gone Eberici Eze as captain as well. I know it pains you, everyone. I've gone Tyler Adams, because I think he's going to have a good game, and I've gone Jared Bowen and Cabano up top. Think you can beat that? Links in the description below. As I said, 400 quid, everybody. 400 quid minimum payout. You'd be crazy not to. Links in the description below. Crystal Palace versus Leeds United. If I say 0-0, if I say 1-1 to you, what do you say back? You say to me, you say, Connor, those are the last 2 fixtures we've played Crystal Palace, and they were dire. Absolutely Kieran Dyer, Nathan Dyer. Awful games of football where 2 sides cancelled each other out, especially the 1-1 at Selhurst Park last season, which was an alternative word, a synonym to die. I'm going to go drab. Just drab. Awful. But listen, we're back here with another fixture. We're back here with a fixture that Leeds United simply have to get something from. Why, I hear you cry? Well, because Leeds are now looking at 2 points in 12. I don't want that to turn into 2 points in 15, 2 points in 18. That is not what I want. The reason behind that is because Leeds United need to start picking up some points prior the World Cup starting. You do not want to be in a period of time where you are waiting a month to start again another pre-season and to then be going into a fixture when we get back against Manchester City, Erling Haaland's Manchester City, requiring points. So Leeds need to pick it up. They really do. Jesse Marsch and his staff need to pick it up. I've unfortunately been seeing some things in the past 4 games that I've not been happy with in terms of Leeds' attacking play, in terms of Leeds' defensive play. I've been very, very happy with the midfield too in Tyler Adams and Mark Rocker. But I do think at the minute when you frustrate Leeds United, and this is something Jesse was talking about in today's press conference, it is easy to get under the skin of Leeds. Leeds sort of play the game of the opposition, especially when we're referring to Wolves, Everton and Aston Villa. Wolves definitely in periods as well, even though won the game. And I also think when you get beyond that too, when you get beyond that midfield too, it is quite easy to run at this Leeds United defence and cause them all sorts of problems. Equally so, you can't just blame the defence. Overall, Jesse was talking about it today, you take out the Brentford game and the defensive work's been okay. But I do think when we're going to be coming up against better teams, which Leeds are, I think we've had a good start to the season. When we come up against better teams, we are going to get found out when it comes to a defensive capacity. quality. So we have to shore up and maybe be a little bit more pragmatic in games when Leeds are struggling and being stretched in those areas. But equally, going forward, we are not being profitable when it comes to recovering the ball in the offensive third. Leeds' pressures are still up there. We're still applying the same pressures when it comes to the units going to the ball, 4 or 5 players going and recovering the ball. We do seem to recover the ball. We saw that against Everton. We saw that against Aston Villa. We even saw that against Brentford. But it's Leeds having that quality on the ball. Now, we were speaking about this on the Patreon account the other day. You can separate quality from concentration and focus and football IQ. You can do that. You know, a prime example of someone like that is Jordan Henderson, who for me hasn't got the upper echelon quality when it comes to Premier League midfielders, but he's got a real footballing brain. He'll know the right decisions to make at the right time. Now, the reason I bring this up is we were chatting about this last night. Shout out Gabe on the Patreon account. And Gabe said to me, but Connor, where are your expectations with this side? Well, my expectation is for Leeds to improve on last season. And I think that is a minimal expectation for any football fan, especially over a 3-year period when you've invested 250 plus million, to be able to see improvements and to not go to Crystal Palace and Brighton and Brentford as just sort of, you know, mid-table to lower mid-table examples and be happy with a point. I want to see Leeds go to these places and assert domination and be able to really hurt the opposition, because we do have quality within that side. Now, once again, the reason I'm talking about football IQ and concentration and focus is because these are elements which I've spoken about, what I've spoken about now for many years when it comes to this Leeds side. Going forward, it's all about those decisions because we have the quality. But the football IQ in certain decisions, when to shoot, when not to shoot, when to pass, when not to pass, all comprise in being a more complete footballer. And I think that's what we're missing at the minute. We're going forward, we're being too quick, we're too grouped up, we're not, there's no space between our attacking forwards, and it's almost as quick as you can, get the shot off as quick as you can. As quick as you can is pretty much, you know, those 4 words, 5 words, are summing up Leeds' performance at the minute, performances going forward. And I think that is something that we need to take into consideration. Leeds need to be working on, because I think it's affecting us going forward and making us a lot more sloppy. And that is something down at Selhurst Park when Crystal Palace have the attacking players that they do. When you look at Eberechi Eze, Jeffrey Schlupp, Edouard, Odison Edouard, when you look at Wilf Zaha, when you look at Michael Elise, all these players that I'm listing off are top operators that are going to help you. You know, they've got fullbacks who like to bomb forward, Tariq Mitchell, who's had a very impressive start to the season so far, and they've also got a form guide which is quite deceptive. Now, if I just go on my laptop here and type in Crystal Palace fixtures, it's going to come up with some fixtures for me that mean when we look at this Crystal Palace side, and mean when people are going to come back to me on this video and say, yeah, but Connor, we're ahead of Crystal Palace. You've always got to put, context is my biggest bugbearer with football fans. You always have to put context into things. And for me, when you look at Crystal Palace's start to the season, it hasn't been easy whatsoever. Newcastle away, Brentford they've played Man City away, played Aston Villa, played Liverpool away, and played Arsenal. They have had a rough run when it comes to the start of this Premier League campaign. So I think it's going to pick up for them. I think Patrick Vieira is going to be looking at this Leeds game and thinking we can get something here. Now, from what I've seen in the last 4 games, which is what I'm basing it on, I've seen a lot of maybe Brendan Aronson being not doubled up on as such, but I've seen him, because teams have been time wasting. A fair few teams have been time wasting against Leeds and profiting from that. I think it's frustrated players like Brendan Aronson, and it's almost really inhibited his game. I think we need to see more from players like Rodrigo. Obviously, he's going to be starting in this game, you'd expect. And we need to see more from Jack Harrison, in my opinion, when it comes to consistency. The reason I mentioned Jack Harrison is because I think he's one of the best players in the side. So we need to see that week in, week out, if we can, from you, please, Jack, which is what I've said now for the best part of 4 years. So I think the central midfield have been exquisite, both of them, but I think we need to see it in the first half of the pitch, in the final half of the pitch, more quality. And I think a lot of that comes to distribution. It comes from passing. It comes from, you know, a lot of decision-making, focus and concentration, as I keep saying, is a bit of a trident. So this is definitely a game that Leeds can win. Based on the last 4 games, as I've just mentioned, a couple of the players, you know, two or three of the players that I think are important for Leeds. Do I think that will happen? I don't think so in this game. I think we're going to struggle to create. I think it is going to be a game where Crystal Palace, like last season under Jesse Marsch, are the better team and maybe are wasteful in attack. But I do think Leeds can get a point out of this one. Now, what I want this Leeds team to do is prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Go out there, dominate the game and beat Crystal Palace because they are beatable. They are. And the frustrating aspect for me is if we are looking at that next bracket, if we are looking at improving, we're looking at being 12th, 13th, 14th, whatever it is going to be. We're going to improve from 17th last season. We need to be seeing this. These are teams that we need to be getting points off. We can't just be relying on hitting 40 points at the end of the season and 41 or 42 points to be okay. The chairman wants improvement. The 49ers want improvement. The manager wants improvement. And the players ultimately will want improvement as well. So Leeds have to go out there and prove it against these sort of teams. And we've had a decent run of fixtures at the start of the season. Have we picked up enough points? For me, probably not in this first phase of fixtures. However, you know, we're in 12th. We're 3 points off the bottom three. We're 3 points off Europe. And that is how the Premier League works. But the table is going to probably start taking shape after 10 games. After 10 games, Leeds United will have played, I believe it's going to be Crystal Palace, Arsenal, and maybe Fulham. So where do you see Leeds United at that point? Let me know in the comment section below. But things have got to shape up. We've got to be defensively better. We've got to be better when it comes to distribution from the back and in and around the pitch. And we've got to be more profitable in the final third. Because what you don't want is creativity to be hampered, to be stifled in this Leeds side. And that's hopefully going to be improved with someone like Patrick Bamford, someone like Joe Gelhardt, or back in the fold. But I think Sinisterra is going to be a big miss in this game. And I think my issue with this Leeds side at the minute is you are going to get good sides coming to Leeds, playing freely, opening Leeds up, and because of their quality, beating Leeds naturally. You can't be in denial about that one. However, against the teams in and around us who've been trying to frustrate Leeds, Leeds have been playing into their game, getting frustrated themselves a little bit, as we have as crowds, which the authorities should be stamping out, but they never will do. There has to be a plan against these sides. There has to be a plan against Crystal Palace. There has to be plans against Aston Villa, Everton, teams like this, Southampton, for when the going does get tough and teams maybe aren't playing expansively, they're not giving up enough space, but we're able to find Brendan Aronson in these pockets. We're able to get the best out of Jack Harrison. And that, for me, is where Jesse Marsch earns his coin. Because after 10 games, that is where the stick is going to be thrown. That is where we're going to get the judgment point of where we are. Because at that point, we'll be over a quarter of the way through the season. We'll be edging ever closer to that World Cup break. And decisions will be made by fans on where we are as a club. We need to see significant improvement in this Palace game from the last 4 games. If I was to predict how it's going to be, I'd say it's probably going to be much of the same, and Leeds are going to maybe go there looking for a point, and it's going to be a bit of a drab affair, and it's going to be defense on the defensive. Leeds are going to be defensively, strong maybe on this one, and Palace is going to be a little bit wasteful. But hopefully Leeds can surprise me. Leeds can surprise me because I've really been trying to look at it differently this season. I've been trying to, because I think in football and as content creators, we need to stick by our principles, which I do, as you guys know, week in, week out. But I also want to maybe look at it from a different perspective and think to myself, okay, well, maybe if you let that go a little bit, you let that expectation go, you don't have too much high standards that your chairman set, and you just lower it a little bit. Maybe you can watch football and enjoy it a little bit more and be a little bit more realistic from a different standpoint on where Leeds are. And I think I've done that to an extent, but the old habits are still there for me. And that's why I am cautious with this Leeds side. As I mentioned, the specificities when it's come to the problems at Leeds, I think they're there. I think we're extremely wasteful. And I still don't think our passing game is on point from the back, which when you've got high pressing teams or you've got teams who just sit back, that is where they can recover the ball and really hurt you. That needs to be improved. And I just want to see a little bit more impetus going forward. I feel we've been a bit slack going forward in these last 4 games. I think we've been a bit toothless. And if that doesn't improve, you're going to get teams taking advantage of Leeds because we're going to be coming up against better teams. I think, as I keep saying, we've had a decent start. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is this a winnable one for you? Do you think Leeds will pick up the win? And where do you think the trials and tribulations are for Leeds coming up, and the positives and the negatives, you would have to say, because I think it's going to be a very pivotal point this for Leeds, because as I say, when we get to 10 games, that's when a lot of people start to judge. Guys, it's been absolutely fantastic to bring this preview to you. I'm going to be doing a watch along. And it's live. Yes, it's going to be live. We're going to be doing a watch along on, I mean, why I'm doing this, I don't know. Let me take a sip of coffee and contemplate what decisions I'm making. Oh, yes, I am doing it. And I'm doing this. I said I wouldn't do this ever again because of how I get. But it's going to be a bit of a litmus test. I'm going to watch the watch along back, and I'm going to see how I get, and if that is going to be something I'm going to continue with. But you guys request me doing watch-alongs every single day. I get it. I've get it in my DMs probably about 5, 6 times, 7 times a week. So I'm going to bring that to you because you guys have been asking for it. It's going to be live on Sunday, so make sure you check out that one. If you want some bonus Patreon content where we do exclusive lives, Q&As, Generation Leads, tactical breakdowns, the link's in the description below for a measly £5 a month, which goes to the upkeep of the One Leeds Fan Channel. And on top of that, everyone, check out BETMATE. My team is ready. I've done all right, in the past couple of weeks, but make sure you check that out if you want some daily fantasy football fix. Guys, have a good one. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.